Off that win over the Packers on Thursday night, Philly's got to keep pace with the Lions in the race for the NFC's top spot. Could they do just that against the lowly Panthers?
SKOL, SKOL, SKOL. The Sam Darnold redemption tour continues against the Atlanta Falcons.
Ooh, redemption, not so much for the Jets. Another year, another postseason less finish. Just where does gangrene go from here?
Two teams not yet finished in the playoff hunt. How many points will be scored? We've got Rams and Bills.
Oh, I think there's a couple things this week to put the sparkle in Bucs McGee's eye. We'll wrap it all up on Week 14 postgame report on Sunday Scaries with Bucs McGee.
Week 14. You know, congratulations on your victory Sunday/Monday. Enjoy that nutmeg. But yeah, week 14. Little something going on.
Yeah, like we always say, a bye week's a win, right?
That's it, man. You take that bye week, that's a victory. I don't care what anybody says. That's a win.
Yeah, hopefully Houston will come out of it with a few losses and will make Christmas extra nice.
For sure, right?
Yes. Well, speaking of early Christmas presents, the Vikings sure did something right for Tampa. And
Minnesota. Love you guys, Minnesota.
It was against the Raiders, albeit, but you got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. How does it feel to be back in first place?
Oh man, feels like we never left. No, it was an ugly game, but like you just said, got to beat the teams you got to beat, and we lucked out, handled business, and like I said, I'll be sending fruit baskets and such to the Minnesota Vikings. I thank them so much. 7-6 never felt so good.
Shout out up north to the Alkanauts hopping on. Thanks, Rain Paul. So we'll break down why the Bucs are back in first place, because the Atlanta Falcons slide continues. And Sam Darnold, he may be Tampa's favorite son right now.
Oh, he is. They're going to name a street after him this week. That's what they're going to do. For Atlanta, it's simple. Kirk Cousins. That's all there is to it, man. Interceptions. It's a mess in Atlanta. It is a mess.
Another lackluster week from the quarterback position for Atlanta. What went wrong here? Was it just Minnesota's defense was that much better, as it usually is?
Well, you know what? I'm not going to totally throw this all on Cousins, because Atlanta's defense secondary, I don't know what was happening there. There were a couple throws that Sam Darnold threw up that I thought were picks, and it just looked like they got lost in the lights. Atlanta's, defenders are falling on the ground. It was a bad show overall by this defense. But at the end of the day, they just couldn't stop Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was precise, handled his business, and the Falcons are in some deep, deep trouble now.
He was slinging it all to everybody. Jettis got in. Addison had a huge game. Just where was Atlanta's defense most in the wrong here as far as trying to figure out what made Minnesota go?
I don't know what happened. It literally, like I said, if you literally watch that game, there were some plays where there were safeties or corners just falling on the ground, there was no explanation for it. It was like they didn't know what was going on. They couldn't see the ball. And a couple of those touchdowns, especially Addison, he literally just walked in the end zone. It was unbelievable. Surreal. It's like you look at Atlanta now than where they were, week 1, week 2, and this team is totally different. It's like they've lost their way. And
Burger
I don't
around it.
exactly, and I don't know what's up with Cousins. Like literally unbelievable. He's like four and what did they say? Like I think he's like 4-1 against the NFC South, and then everything else is a losing record. I just don't get it. But Atlanta, I don't know what. Like I'm lost for words to see what this team has become. And basically now they rely heavily on the run game. And there's going to be a point where you meet a team that can just stop the run. And if you have to depend on Cousins, I don't feel confident.
A lot of the buzz in the pregame show was they needed to get back to a play action thing, which Cousins has had success with in the past. And of course, that's obviously what you're saying. Like they went back to the run game, but obviously this is not working the way it used to.
No, it didn't. The offensive line, was kind of poor this week as well. Minnesota was able to get pressure on Kurt, but even when he didn't have pressure, it just wasn't there. Like the throws were off, and this team's if they're not in panic mode now, another loss next week, then I think it's over.
Yeah.
Their schedule isn't that tough, but
yeah.
now that you look at it, you're like, I could see the Panthers beating them,
especially the way they're playing right now.
Yeah, like
is the where now Minnesota kind of needed to. We'll get into Philadelphia more in a moment, but Minnesota needed this as well to keep pace with Detroit as well. Not that we are kind of putting too much faith on Minnesota catching the Lions, but that's more as a testament to the Lions than anything against Minnesota.
Oh, no, definitely. Like if you sit here and you figure the rest of the season, will Detroit slip up and lose a game? They very well could. But I don't know if they will. So yeah, Minnesota, Green Bay, those guys have to win out. They have to basically, for any hopes of the division, they have to play. They have to win out, and they also have to think beyond the division. The 5 and 6 seeds. They want to make sure that seeding is as good as possible. So they want to play and want to win out, and they played really well. The offense was probably the best I've seen this offense all year.
Yeah. Especially with Buffalo next week for the Lions, there is opportunity for the Lions to drop one, as far-fetched an idea as it may be. So
no, exactly. With the way Detroit's defense is really beat up, and the way Josh Allen's been playing this year, it very well could happen.
So I know you're ecstatic over the moon to have the Bucs overcome a 2-game sweep deficit to be back in first place. But if that wasn't enough to make your Sunday extra good, for the 14th year in a row, the New York Football Jets will be on the sidelines this postseason. How much of a cherry on top was this?
It's almost like those things they guarantee in life, death and taxes. In my life, it's like Jets don't make the playoffs. This team is an absolute dumpster fire, and for them to lose it the way they did, literally unbelievable. That overtime, Jonnu Smith looked like an all-pro tight end. It was like the Jonnu Smith drive. They ran literally the same play like 2 or 3 times. Then next thing you know, they throw a couple other passes, and then Jonnu Smith scores the touchdown, and there you go, party over. No type of urgency was felt by that team. The Jets, I think Rodgers is gone after this year, and it's just going to be like you need to really clean house. Like there's no way saving this. This is an absolute dumpster fire, and you got what you paid for. You gave the keys to the asylum, and they tore it down.
The Jet Killer, Jonnu Smith.
That's it, man. And he didn't have a catch all game. All of a sudden, there he is in overtime. It's like they dusted him off, and he said, "Here I am. Let's get to work."
Yeah. Well, we don't have to be all negative. Let's look at the Dolphins because they have quietly clawed their way back into the playoff run. And that's kind of incredible considering the fact that Tua still necessarily hasn't looked like Tua. He almost looks like our dreaded word, the game manager.
No, exactly. He looks almost like what people thought he was going to be when he came into the league. Because honestly, there was doubt. No one thought he'd be able to sling the rock, and no one knew what he was gonna be. So yeah, now it's almost like it's the Tua from the end of last year, through the beginning of this year isn't there. So I don't know what this offense is gonna be, but I think going forward, it's gonna be like they're gonna run it like it's been, on the run and just try to keep them upright. But at the end of the day, they beat the Jets. That's what you got to do. So they're in the hunt. It's like it's not a big thing. You beat the Jets. Oh well. But
it's with the hype that's been on the Jets the last couple of years, albeit with the injury last year, but not that notwithstanding, the hype that's been on the Jets, it's weird to think of them as one of the teams you should beat.
Well, exactly. Well, that's what we thought. And we talked about the beginning of the year. I felt their defense was going to be great, and their defense probably was going to carry them because I didn't have faith in Aaron Rodgers. But I thought, this would have been a 10-win team or so. Not going to happen. So you give Miami credit for clawing back.
I think you gave them 12, if memory serves.
Yeah, I did. I bit my tongue and was like, yeah, 12. Yeah, the Jets. I tried to give them their due, tried to give the devil his due, and there you go. At the end of the day, Miami's hanging around, but they're going to have to probably win out, and they're going to need a lot of help. But they got to score points, and they got to get the ball out to the receivers. That's how this team is built. And, if you're just going to hand the ball off and be a run team, then you're basically wasting Waddle and Hill.
Well, if they need more receivers, they can always recruit all of Tyreek's children.
Oh, my God. My God. My God. Jeez. Just ask Devontae Adams if they want a Taco Bell in their house. Just call him. I'm sure he's going to want to leave after this year. So
that's a good point to wrap up this topic, because now that the Jets are officially dead in the water, do we forecast anything towards the end of the season now to kind of prepare for next year? Like Roger said, why should I play the last 4 games or whatever to and risk injury if there's a chance he may want to come back?
It all depends on what this organization wants to do. Like, they need to decide. You need to sit there and ask Aaron and be like, we need an answer as soon as possible. Do you plan to come back, yes or no? Because if he holds them hostage as you get closer to, like, let's say draft time, and you don't know what you're going to do, that's going to set you back another 10 years. You've already missed the playoffs, over a decade. So you need to be like, hey, man, we need to know yes or no. And you need to sit down with Adams and say, hey, man, we know you came here, for Aaron. He doesn't think he's coming back. Do you still want to be here? If you don't, then let us know so we can figure out something so that we can get some kind of compensation for you.
Yeah.
And
at that point, if he doesn't want to be there or they just want to dump him and move on, then they also have to decide what to do with Adams too.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like now they're a package deal.
Yeah.
So the Jets really got to figure it out. This organization is a hot mess, and like I said, they're probably not going to be able to fix this for the next couple of years. They've totally torn this thing apart, and who knows who the quarterback's going to be? Maybe they should go after Jameis Winston.
I was going to say here, Aaron, you could be Russell Wilson's backup in Pittsburgh.
Dang. Dang. Justin Fields, get ready, man. You're going to be a Jet.
Oh, wishing that evil on him. Hey, man, now he's really glad Pittsburgh declined the option, so at least he's a free agent.
He's like, I got to go somewhere, and it ain't the Jets.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to greener pastures and teams that actually have a shot this year. Mm-hmm. Philadelphia, another game where you just need to beat the teams you're supposed to beat, which the Panthers have fallen into that category this season a lot. But the Panthers of late have played a lot better, and one of our favorite phrases of late, I'm a real quarterback now.
Bryce Nocchio himself. Bryce Nokia Young has become a real quarterback. I gotta give the puppet his due. He has now become a quarterback. Took Philly to the hill. Gotta give these guys credit. I don't know if Philly walked in and said, "Hey, we can handle this team. This isn't going to be hard." But at the end of the day, the Panthers gave them everything they could, and Philly lucked out, walked out with a victory. But things are starting to look kind of bright for the Panthers.
Yeah. Those season tickets are just going to go up next year.
Yo, man, they're like $75, I think. You better get them before they get to $1.25, man. They might not give you the coupon for the free pizza or something, so you better jump on that. Jump on that.
So the Eagles, is this more the Eagles team we can kind of expect to see down the stretch and into the postseason? Because we've been used to seeing them lately. They kind of look like an unbeatable force. But this was kind of a little bit of an exposure for how you beat the Eagles. You just do your best to bottle up Barkley, and force Jalen to beat you. Which, if it was anybody but the Panthers in this one, they may not have come out on top.
No, but we talked about that. We said to beat this team, you have to stop Barkley. We've talked about, Hurts at length this year. He's adequate. I don't want to, and I'm not, let's be honest. It's not like he's, in the MVP conversation. He's not going to throw you 35 to 40 touchdowns and, close to 5,000 yards. That's not him.
Yeah.
I'm going to use the term we don't like, but he's an above average game manager right now. Like, he gets the ball to where it's got to go. But my issue is you've got these weapons. You've got these wide receivers that are great weapons. Like, what are they doing? Like, it's not like, Brown's popping off for 125 yards a game or, stuff like that. So it's basically this team is Barkley. They feed off of Barkley, and then they go. And then once it gets to the 1 or 2 yard line, it's Jalen Hurts, gets his rushing touchdown, and then we move on. Now, their defense has gotten better. I give them credit. But I don't know if teams can bottle up Barkley. This team can't win a shootout.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
He also can't move it around. Like, AJ Brown's been the tunnel vision guy, and he decided to throw it to Devontae Smith in this one, and we didn't see AJ Brown.
Yeah, it's either he picks one or the other. When you've got two guys as dynamic as as Smith and Brown, you should be getting them the ball. Goddard's legit. He's a legit tight end. If you get him the ball, he can be a top 5 tight end, I believe. I think he's got that kind of talent. There's talent all around, but like you said, Hurts has tunnel vision. It's either one guy or it's Barkley. And Barkley's carried this team. Barkley has made this team what it is. But now you get closer to the playoffs, teams know what they have to do to stop you. It's just that the teams you're playing now can't do it.
I know we get on Sirianni a lot, but at a certain point, do we almost get away from the magnifying glass being on Sirianni and Hurts takes the brunt of the pressure?
Winning does that. When you win, whatever faults the head coach has, it's like putting lipstick on a pig. The pig looks good as long as you're winning. Once they start losing again, then that lipstick's going to come off and you're going to be like, oh man, that's what that is. It also comes down to, play calling. Like, if you don't want, do you not trust Hurts to throw the ball? Like, he can throw a deep ball. Like, he's got talent. But I guess, they feel Saquon is the centerpiece of this offense and everything else offshoots from it. But there's going to be a point when you are going to have Hurts be the man and throw the ball and win you a game. I haven't seen him win a game yet.
Yeah.
Really.
Unless he's on the 1 yard line 4 times.
Yeah, then there you go. And maybe that's lucky, but I want to see him, let's say, he's in a shootout with somebody and, you're putting up over 30 points. Can he go back and forth? Can he be that guy? If a play breaks down, can he get that first down for you? Is he going to make that play? I don't know right now.
In our latest edition of As the NFC West Turns, round 2 only a few weeks later between the Seahawks and the Cardinals. And the Seahawks, we kind of figured, okay, the light is passed on the Cardinals. Seattle will be fine with this one, even in the last one maybe. But so especially the low scoring effort that game was, the first game was. This one was a bit more scoring, but they also went in without a huge weapon in Kenny Walker, and they still came out looking okay with this. So I guess Seattle's in prime position down the stretch.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's just so weird. Like Seattle is almost like the Falcons in the sense that within the division, they're badass. They're like, all right, we can handle business. We handle business. Once we leave the division, we open up our door and we walk out. We don't know what we're doing, and we're just trying to survive. They're 8-5, so you got to give them some credit. They're handling their business. So right now they control things. So now everybody else in the West, they got to win. They got to win out. I don't know if Seattle will falter enough to lose the division. Like I don't know. I don't think so.
My biggest issue with Seattle is consistency.
Mm-hmm.
We just got it. Geno has these games where he's throwing rainbows, and then other games where he looks like the next Jets quarterback.
He's a former Jets quarterback. Give that man some respect. Give that man respect, man. He could have won them. He could have won them a playoff game.
That's right. He's free of the disaster now.
That's right. He's been cleansed.
Yeah.
It's weird, like you said. It's weird with Geno. They're just games where he looks like he could be an elite guy, and then there's other games where you're like, "What are you doing, Geno?" So there's gonna be a point in the next couple of years where Seattle is gonna have to say, "Hey, if this is our window with him, then we gotta look to the draft. We gotta figure something out because we want to take that next step. Because right now, Seattle at best to me is maybe a 1-and-out in the playoffs. I don't know if they can do a deep run.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, they're inconsistent. I don't know if they've got the ammunition to really go deep into the playoffs. I could be wrong because I've always said all you need to do is get into the dance and then all bets are off. So it's going to be interesting, but they're 8-5, and right now they control everything.
Yeah, and one team that's not looking in control of much is the 49ers, but they at least had one bright spot to hang their hat on because one of the few teams actually playing worse than them as far as having a few strands of a chance left of the playoffs got a lot dimmer, and they played the Bears. Well, as you said a few weeks ago, they can't buy a win, so that was probably a refreshing sight for the Niners to see.
Well, the night at that point, if I was the Niners, I wouldn't have been overly confident in this game because you just don't know. You didn't know what you were walking into. You've got injuries. You're basically on life support. So yeah, you needed this win, and Chicago, like right now at this point, they're playing for next year.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to figure out who the head coach is because they're going to get somebody. So the head coach, I'm sure a lot of things internally are going to change, and you want somebody in there who's going to help for the development of Williams. So it's going to be interesting. But yeah, the Niners needed this win like nobody's business.
Noted Niners fan, beer for breakfast, facts for snacks, hopping on. I guess he's shifting his focus from the Niners to the Vikings. From
SKOL. I'm telling you, man. The Vikings are a fun team. I'm not gonna lie, man. Sam Darnold, I give him respect, man. He's just doing his thing. That team's got talent, but yeah, the Niners. We've talked about it. The window's closed. They really got to figure out what this team is, and it all starts with: do they give Purdy that contract? And that's going to be an off-season situation.
Speaking of Purdy, obviously the Niners had Sam Darnold as a backup, so this almost like makes their commitment to Purdy have a bit more of a bitter flavor in their mouth.
could have sat there and said, well, we could have had Sam Darnold, and Sam's playing a heck of a lot better. And yeah, it very well could have been, but you believe in this guy, so now you've got to ride with him. You have to. So the question is he worth 60 million? Because that's what he's probably going to be asking for.
Yeah.
And that's right. Sam was in that Shanahan system, and it's one of those things where Sam actually had a system. Once he left the Jets, where there was no system. And Sam was a solid quarterback coming out of college. It's just he needed to go to the right place, and the Niners were it, and now the Vikings are reaping the benefits.
Yeah. So, I mean, injury wise, this was a tough one. I mean, they're playing the Bears, but between CMC going down, Mason going on IR, take the win. But after this game, you figured let's just kind of low key tank. Let's not try to lose, but let's not try to win either, right? Because at this point, they're falling out of this division pretty quickly.
They're not going to do that. They're going to try to do everything they can to try to survive. That's the Niners aren't like that. Because at that point, you truly are admitting that your window is closed.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying that's it. We're done. Let's party's over. It was a heck of a run. Didn't get a ring. In this 4 or 5 year window. But no, I think they're gonna play hard till they're eliminated. Now, who's to say some weird things don't happen and they fall into the 7th? I don't think it's going to happen, but it very well could.
And to round out the topic on the NFC West, this was a fun game, probably the game of the week, and a game that lived up to, of course, the Thursday night between the Lions and the Packers. The Bills went to Tinseltown. We figured they're rolling. Josh Allen's looking MVP level. I mean, you could say, it took a while to get going, but you could say Josh still put up an MVP effort. Shakir looked like an all-pro receiver in this one. But the Rams withstood that, and Matt Stafford is still showing the juice left in the arm.
You got to give Matt Stafford credit, man. The last couple of years, people have been like, yeah, when's it going to fall? When's his arm going to fall off? He's been, he's been beat to hell. When does he hang it up? But you got to give the Rams credit. They hung around and were able to eke this game out. Buffalo, one stop, and they win this game. I didn't think their defense would give up as many points as it did. I was a little surprised.
Yeah, 86 points combined in this game.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be that high. If I was thinking maybe high 50s. Maybe I was thinking.
Yeah.
But no, Allen, I think, still solidified his MVP candidacy there. He had he was 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He basically put them on his back and carried them to almost to victory. It was just the defense. It was the defense.
Yeah. This was we've at times this season sung up the surprising performance of both the Bills defense and the Rams defense. And like you said, neither one of them came to play in this one.
Nope. It was all right, well, we'll stand here, wave our arms around, and then you guys figure out you figure out where you want to throw the ball around, and we'll go from there. But gotta give the Rams their credit. They're still alive, and I think they're gonna play till Matt Stafford's arm falls off. So you got to be careful. They can put the points up. They just can't stop the points.
Yeah. Now, the other Josh put on a show, but the other player that really put on a show this was Puka Nacua.
Puka Nacua, man. Unbelievable, man. This guy, I tell you, man, this guy catches stuff like you just wouldn't believe. Unbelievably talented. Got banged up a little bit in this game, but came back in, and he's the focal point. And I think that helps out Cooper Kupp. So he's not, he doesn't have to worry about being the guy, and he still can put up his numbers. But you got 2 receivers like that, plus your run game. This team is dangerous. They have the pieces. They just need the defense. But Puka, had a hell of a catch today and just put up numbers.
And Robinson, who's been an excellent third option for Stafford, especially going another weapon going downfield.
Yeah, when you have a well-balanced offense like that, you're set. The only issue is the defense now. They're a young defense, but probably in another year or so, this defense is going to be really good.
So a big question here with Buffalo
Mm-hmm.
is, do you think they were caught looking ahead a little bit to the Lions next week? Or is this just a situation of they weren't expecting the Rams to come out with so many points and it was just a gunslinger's duel?
I think it was just a gunslinger's duel. I think the way that the Bills are set up, I don't think they're taking things for granted because they're so focused. They're hell bent on trying to get the number one seed. I don't think they're taking anybody lightly. Now, I'm sure they're going to be quite, interested in the Chiefs game and hope that maybe some wondrous magic can happen and the Chiefs can maybe falter.
Yes.
Because that's what they're going to need. The Bills probably thought, or maybe they just thought too hard and said, hey, you know what? We just got to match the Chiefs win for win. And then at that point, we beat them in the regular season. We get the number one seed. Because a lot of people feel that the Bills need the number one seed to get to the Super Bowl. I think they're better playing on the road and just going in and just, playing against the elements and, against the us against the world mentality. But now with this loss, they're going to have to watch.
Especially like you like them with the chip on their shoulder, so maybe they are better as an underdog.
Exactly, but I think they were really hell bent on trying to get the number one seed. Not to say that they can't, but now with this loss and 4 games left, your room for error is pretty much non-existent.
Yeah, and maybe they can. Obviously, playing on the road sets up the opportunity for them to slay the dragon if they see the Chiefs again and win an Arrowhead.
Exactly, which I think they're thinking. At this point, I think Buffalo feels it's just inevitable that it's them and the Chiefs. I think a lot of people feel that way. Baltimore's fallen off enough where we're like, maybe, but they've got to be a little more consistent. I think right now we feel, or most of America feels, it's the Chiefs and Buffalo.
Yes, and then like you said, as most of Tampa Bay was wearing their purple people eater Sunday finest, the Bills Mafia is equally wearing a different shade of blue against the Chiefs, hoping that the Chargers can get some magic in there.
No, all of America, except for a certain state in the continental 48, are wearing that shade of blue. Let's be real here. Let's be honest.
It's not just a Bills thing.
Oh no, it's an America thing.
So does that then make the Chargers America's team tonight? Or
if they win tonight, they will be America's team. Man, I will call myself Chargers McGee for a week. I don't care. If the Chargers can pull it off, I'll call myself Chargers McGee. I got no problem with it.
And like you said, everyone sees this shaping up as Chiefs and Bills, so that also makes the Bills America's team.
Anything that can happen, man. That's what America's shooting for. We're just looking for something. But no, yeah, the Bills now, probably felt, I don't think they overlooked, like I said, I don't think they overlooked the Rams, but I think they felt they were confident enough where they could beat them and say, okay, now we can, after we beat the Rams, we can sit home or sit in our hotel rooms and hopefully hope the Chargers handle business. Now they're sitting there even more saying we need the Chargers to handle business.
Yeah. What good's a tiebreaker if you finish a full game back because the Chiefs just don't lose?
Yeah, exactly. So it's great that you beat them. Now that might work for you in the playoffs mentality-wise, but you wanted that number one seed. So we'll see what happens, but this does kind of put a little bit of a damper on the plans for Buffalo.
Yeah, and to wrap up here, there is one more AFC team that we should not forget as far as the race to the top. Now they don't nearly have the same gravitas about them as the Bills and Chiefs do, but the Pittsburgh Steelers have slowly been staying in this one. And amazing what an effect your performance can have when you don't have to play in a blizzard against the Browns.
Yo, the Browns earned that win. I'm tired of people dumping on the Browns because it was blizzard. It's not their fault. They didn't call up Mother Nature and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, can you give us a blizzard? 40-mile-an-hour winds, 8 to 10 inches. Yeah, we're good with that. They didn't ask for that. They know it. They're able to handle the elements better than the Steelers, and the Steelers should have been able to handle that. But I digress. At the beginning of this game, I thought Jameis was it was the Jameis show again, man. He throws the bomb, the pass to Judy, and it's 7-3, and I'm like, here we go. Maybe this is how the Steelers fall apart, but Russ cooks, does his thing, and they pull it out.
Especially minus George Pickens in this one, because that's a significant element that Russ uses to go tit for tat with an opposing offense like Jameis has been on the same page with Jerry Jeudy.
I'm going to be honest. They probably were better off without George Pickens. George Pickens is ridiculous. Okay, he's the new Antonio Brown. Okay, he's the new Antonio Brown.
There he is.
Okay, now mind you, man, help me get a Super Bowl. Love, I think the guy's got some issues. I think he just needs to talk to somebody. But still, George Pickens, I've never seen somebody ask for as many flags as this man does. Man trips on himself, wants a flag. Some kid drops a candy bar, thinks he gets a flag. He needs to grow up. Great talent, and once he grows up and figures it out, he's going to be an even a better weapon for us. But at the end of the day, Russ was solid, did what he needed to do, and the Steelers got to give him credit because we dumped on them in the preseason. We were like, they're gonna be horrible. We're like, please, the Steelers, don't even worry about them. Now the Steelers could be a sneaky team, maybe win out, and maybe they get to the 2 seed. Who knows? But they are a team that I don't think a lot of people want to play.
Yeah, especially with Baltimore falling further. Now, granted, they were on a bye, but they've not looked like the Ravens team of a few weeks ago. So
yeah, you can't. They're too Jekyll and Hyde. Exactly, the Baltimore's too Jekyll and Hyde. So at this point, I can't. I wanted beginning of the year. I wanted to put it all on Baltimore because I felt they were the team. I can't because you just don't know who you're going to get that week. Right now, the Steelers are steady. You know what their defense is, and Russ, has shown enough where you know what you're going to get. So right now, the Steelers are in that number 3 spot in the AFC, and those other teams got to be careful.
And clap it up once again for Najee Harris finding the end zone.
Najee Harris, after we dumped on him last year. Najee, we appreciate you, Najee. You're a real running back, Najee. Najinocchio. Yeah. No disrespect. The guy had talent, but it was like, what the heck? Last year it was like, what the hell are you doing? But the guy, you don't have a guaranteed contract next year. All of a sudden now you want to play. So, hey, I guess that's what you got to do.
Well, Bucks, we know what we got to do. There was a lot of things to feel good about in Week 14, and I got to sit back and observe them all in stress-free fashion on a bye week. So, sure, take us off air with your glorified moments from Week 14.
Yeah, man, bye weeks are the best weeks, I'll tell you. So, again, SKOL, Vikings, much respect, much love. It's great to be the best 7-6 team in the league. Appreciate it. Falcons, that number 8 pick. Loving it. Good job. And loving it. And as always, Jets fans, maybe next year.